Okay, so good afternoon once more. Uh, Today we're going to do some practical in this lesson, and I'm going to teach you a number of important skills in web development. One of them being downloading, scavenging, and downloading a free HTML template. I've just called it HTML template, but of course it's also made up using CSS and JavaScript. Then how to customize that template to make use of it. Remember, we are building voting, a voting system. So really, we are going to customize this template to do exactly that. Then we're going to create a login page today. In the previous lesson, we created the registration form. So now we can be able to log in because at least we've been able to register a few people. When we'll be creating the login form, we're going to learn some important PHP MySQL concepts. One of them being setting up a database connection page. We're going to learn how to do that. We're also going to learn how to retrieve data from the database. So far, we've only saved data to the database, but we've not retrieved it. Then we're also going to learn what we call PhP Redirect, which is simply redirecting a user from one page to another using PHP. If time allows, we're going to learn how to edit user details. So let's jump into it. We begin by looking at downloading a free HTML template. So how I did this, let me just zoom this a little bit. So I just Googled a admin template HTML CSS free download, something like that, just that simple. I looked at a few options, but the one I got it from this site, colorlib.com, top 42 free HTML5 admin dashboards. So I went here, and after looking at a number of them, the one that I settled on was this one, Nalika. So generally, before you settle on a particular template, it's always good to look at the demo. So when you click the demo here, you read about it a little bit, then you click on the demo. You'll always be able to see this kind of interface. Now, the reason as to why I Googled admin template is because generally this is like the de facto standard for an admin template. So we have some side menus here which can grow as much as you may wish, because you can have this particular main menu and sub-menus below it, and you can hide or unhide them like an accordion. So when you click mailbox, you're going to see some other options there. So you can have a very main long menu compared to having the top menu here on this particular horizontal bar. So that's one of the main features. So this is normally how it's actually laid out. We have that. Then you have this top column here. Most of the time here we have some notifications. Then we also have the user details here and a menu where maybe they can log out or they can edit their information. And of course now the main content area. So I just needed something like this. The other good thing about most of these HTML admin templates is that they also come up with some cool features. For example, for data analytics that has been done using Bootstrap, using JavaScript. And of course, because this is a voting system, we're going to be wanting to display numbers in form of graphs of something. So we can be able to take advantage of those features. We don't want to program that. We just want to pick the data and just put them there, and they're going to be displayed in awesome ways, like some of the things that you can see here. Of course, I was also looking at having something like this here, so that maybe for our candidates, we can be able to put their picture there, their name, and maybe a vote button somewhere. So just something like that again, I was interested in. Otherwise, you'll find out that, for example, this particular template has so many other things that I might not need or use. So don't worry, we'll just use we'll just pick whatever we want and use them. The rest, we can always delete them. But you should be careful how to do that. If you want to download this template, you need to click on this. You need to click on this here, more info, download. When you click on that, it takes you to the Git. Some people call it GitHub, some people GitHub. It takes you to this link on GitHub, this link here. And now if you want to download this, you click on this blue button here, code. Then you can just click on download zip. So when you click on download zip, you're gonna download this template. So that's just exactly what I've done. So now maybe we can go to customizing the template. So if I go to my downloads, you can see that this is the template. I have just unzipped this particular template. So we have a folder there. So just want to cut it, then take it to our site. So C164 www voting system. Okay, we only have the sign up form, so page or something. I'm just gonna paste this there. Then what do I do? Can I rename this to something? Okay, let me just call it temp, because we can always change it any other time. Or let me rename it to, oh, we actually have another one. So let me just cut this, paste it there, Control V. Let me delete this. Okay, then let me just call these templates like that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is just to see what I've downloaded. So I've just opened that. After opening that, I can open this folder here, Nalika, that one, and I can be able to see all the pages that I've been able to download. We have, not sure whether you'll be able to see this very well. Control, okay. So I'm not sure whether you're able to see it very well. I've just tried to zoom in. So we have the CSS folder. So normally this will have all the things to do with CSS. For example, CSS page for accordions, for alerts, for the entire page, so main, etc. So you can always change that. If there's anything you don't like, you can change the CSS, the fonts, the images, the JavaScript, JS, some PDF document there you can read. But generally, these are the pages that come with this. So let me just open the index, this one here. Hope you can see it, the index page. So just double click it to open it up so that we can see it. So here it is. Let me just close this, close that, close the JIT. So this is what we have downloaded. This is how it looks like. You can see how it looked like when it was hosted. For example, we had a lady picture there, but when you download it, we don't have a picture, but it's pretty the same thing as you can see. You just need to do a little tweak on it. For example, add the pictures, remove what you don't want for it to look exactly like this one. Okay, so just also allow me to close this demo site so that we just remain with this one. Okay, so this is the one that we are going to play around with. But before we look into it so much, if you come down here to pages, you're going to see login. So you can click on it for it to load the login. So you can see that this is the login page. This is the login page for this particular template. So this is the one that you can play around with to create the login page. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. I'm just trying to think the best way to do this. What would it be? Oh, let me see. Let's see. I'm trying to think the best way to do it. Sign template, open it up. Okay, what I'll do, I'll copy the folders, CSS, fonts, image, JavaScript, PDF. Then I also copy the login. Oh, there's a style here, style. Then I'll also copy login and I copy in index. So those are the ones that I want in the meantime. So I'm just gonna copy them. Remember, I'm just copying them. Then I come to the voting system and paste. So you can see that our sign up is here. We've just copied everything from this template. So we don't want to change the real template. We just want it to remain like that. We just copied index and login and the style there, and of course the other folders. So let me close this, and then we open index here and see how it looks like. Index. Okay, still the same. It means that we copied all the CSS that is needed. So pretty good. And we click down here on pages, login. Should all good. It's there. Good. So let's begin then by changing this login. So we just click on, or right click on it, and then we click on edit. Edit with Notepad. Okay, so let's have a look. A lot of things here. We have quite a lot of things. Meta, title. Okay, we can begin by changing this to just log in here. Okay, some meta again, some fonts there, some CSS for the calendar, for blah, 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 some JavaScript. Okay, we can leave that. We have a comment here. It's gonna check if you're using Internet Explorer 8 and tell you that you are using an outdated browser. Okay, we can leave that one. We have this back to dashboard. I don't think we need it. Let me go there. So it's here. You can see it here. So we have this one here. Back to dashboard. We can change it maybe to back to home. Back to home or something like that. We just leave it like that in the meantime. Of course, we don't have even index.html because we're going to change our index to .html to PHP. So we can just delete that and maybe have a hashtag so that when you click, it doesn't go anywhere really. Okay, and then we have please log in to app. So here, you can change it, please log in to vote. This is the best app ever. Let me see. We can get rid of that. We don't need it. We can get rid of that. So you can always save and refresh. So we have that so far. So it's not even very much visible. Not sure if we change it, for example, to H1. Is the CSS for H1 better? Not really, but we can just leave it as that, or we can even use an inline CSS. For example, here we can do style. Oh, why is my computer? Style is equals to color gold. We have gold. Okay, refresh. Okay, and just have that. What else? We can remove this remember me, your unique username, your strong password, remember me, blah blah blah, register, blah, blah. Okay, so here is our login form. Action, nothing. A login form is the ID. Let's see, label for username. Remember, we're just now going through this template and changing it to what we want. A placeholder, example at email, I think that is okay. Title, please enter your, instead of username, we want to say email address. So here we can also change this to, email. Can even change this name here to email. For the type, instead of text here, we can change it to email so that it can verify for us. So the name, we've changed it to email. What is wrong with the keyboard? Oh. Email. We can also let the ID be email. This keyboard. My keyboard is letting me down. Don't know why it's misbehaving. Email. Okay. What else do we have here? Your unique username to the app. We can remove this. Doesn't even look very good. Or we can say, let me undo. Email you used for registration. Can say the email you used for registration, like that. Okay, then let's look at the password field. Label for password, that's okay. Type password, that's okay. Please enter your password. Placeholder, have some asterisk there. See how it looks like. Not really necessary to have that. My keyboard is really hanging. Why is that so? Is it a problem with my battery or something? Oh. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. For the password, I think we can just let it be empty instead of putting a placeholder. Excuse me. Okay. Required. So required. Oh, and then we can also put required for the email. We also want it to be required. So I'll just copy that. Then I've pasted there. Name, password, ID, password, class. That's the CSS. That's okay. Your strong password. We really don't need it. Or you can just say the password you used during registration. That's why I should anyway. Even this one, you can just remove it. Let's just keep things simple. Okay, so just also remove that. We also want to remove this label for remember me. Let's just remove it because we're not gonna be using it. Okay, so I have removed that. Then here for the login, instead of using a button, we want to use type login. After saving, you can always refresh to see how it looks like. I haven't saved. Let me save again. Refresh. We just removed a few things. Now this looks better. Okay. Register there. Okay. So we just want to change this into an input button. So input type submit. Input type submit. ID we can call it login. Even the name, and call it login. Then you give it a value, what will appear inside the button. So you can just type login. So that's the value. Let me see, we can leave the class to be just that. Then of course we don't need the closing button on that one. Just close it here like that because it's an inline. Input is an inline element. Okay, we can let this be there. So far it's not going anywhere, but we will link it to the sign up. In fact, we can just link it. Sign up.php like that. Now, save it. Let's find out how this looks like. Like this. Okay, so let's refresh. Okay, let me just zoom in a little bit. So I think that's pretty how we want it to look like. That's pretty it. Email, password, then login. Okay, it works good. Sawa kabisa. Okay, so we don't want to remove the copyright information, so we can just leave it there as per the license. Don't think it allows us to remove the copyright information. So we'll just leave the copyright information there. So what else? Now, we're done with the HTML for our form. So the next thing we need to do is to now begin adding PHP. We need to begin adding PHP into our page. But before we do that, I need to let you know that you cannot write PHP code in a HTML document. Right now, our page is saved as login.html. So if we write PHP here, it can't be executed. It can't work. We need to save it as .php. Let me see. This is our sign up page. Now, for example, if we came here, let me push this. Just a moment, I replace my keyboard. Okay, let me try this one. Hope it's gonna work pretty well. Okay, so if we do the PHP tag, so PHP, and maybe we do echo trying to run PHP, something like that. If I save this, if I save it, then go back to this page and refresh. So we can't see anything. It can't print really. So until we save it, let me just do, for example, paragraph style is equals to color white. Like that. I'm just changing the color there to white to see whether we're going to see it somewhere. It actually printed. You can see here when I refresh. I'm not sure, it's too fast, but here, actually, you see it's printing the PHP tags. It's printing the PHP tag. So that's the problem. You can't execute PHP in a .html page. So we need to rename this page or save it as .php. So how to do that? You can come to File, then Save As. Alternatively, I can just click on Close so that I close it. Then I can go to our folder here. Then I can rename, right-click, and then rename. I'm not sure whether this is gonna work. Is it going to work? .php? No, it didn't work. Okay, so seems we just have to save as. Okay, so I'll right-click it, edit edit with Notepad++, File, then Save As. Save As. Then I'll call it login. Then here, as Save As type, I'll choose PHP. PHP. You can see this one, PHP. So I'm now changing it to a PHP file. PHP, hypertext processor file, preprocessor. Then I'll click on save. So now you can see that this is now .php. .php. Okay, so how to execute it? How to execute that particular file on our browser? Of course, we can just refresh here. Some of you will try that. It can't work. Or write .php here. It can't work. I'm just doing this deliberately to remind you guys the PHP. So if you try to do that, it just prints out the code, the entire code for that particular file. Of course, what you're supposed to do is go to localhost. So I have already started my WAMP server. So I've just clicked on localhost voting system. Of course, we have index.html, so it's automatically loaded. But this is not the page I want. So just in front of this, I'll just type login.php. Login.php. Enter. So if I do that, it should bring up the login.php, and you can see that now PHP is being executed. You can see here, trying to run PHP. So that paragraph that you were running, so it's there. Okay, so let's move on. So at least we're still gonna learn how to customize even more the HTML template when we handle the index page. But for now, let's move on and set up the database connection page. So if we want to process the data that has been entered on this form, we need to include some PHP in this particular form. And for that matter, we also need to, so we can delete this now. We need to connect to the database, because we are going to connect to the database and check the username and the password from the database. Okay, so in order to do that, we already wrote some code for connecting to the database. So it's here. So what we can simply do is to copy it. We select, we copy it, then we come here and paste it, and it's gonna work. So if I go back and refresh, it's not going to print anything. But if we put an else here, if we do else, and we do echo p star, just want it to be white so that we can see color. So if we just do that and say database connected. So like that. If I save that and refresh this, you're gonna get the message database connected, because we have been able to connect to the database. Now, while what we've done here is correct, the thing is, within no time, we are going to have so many pages that require to be connected to the database. And if we are going to copy paste this code on each of the pages, what that means also is that when we change, for example, the username for the database user or the password for the database user, yeah? So you remember, I think this was the password. This was the password, this was the user, then this is the database name. So you can see that if, for example, when you're going to host your web application on a particular server or a hosting provider, most likely you're going to change your database name, your database user, and your database password. So if you copy pasted this code in all your pages, it means that you have to go on each and every page and change this code. So if you're having 100 pages, that's gonna eat up most of your time, and it's gonna be repetitive, tedious, and boring. So we really never do this, whatever I've just done. What we normally do is we copy this code. We copy this code. So let me just copy it. Then we save it on a separate file. We save it on a separate file. So let me just okay, let me just leave it for a while, that one. Then you save it. So you can't save it. We remember we are saving it on the voting systems, and we want to call it maybe a db connect db-connect.php. So I'm just calling it db-connect.php. That's how we save a PHP file. You don't have to click on save as type. You just leave it as that. It's gonna know that it's a PHP file. So once we do this, now instead of having this code on this page, we can just include it. So here, include the database connection page. So to include it, you can use a PHP function called include. I think it has that. So normally it's include, then the name of the page, really the address of the page. Where is that page? Because it's in the same folder right now with this login page, then it's just gonna be like that. So include db underscore connect.php. So similarly, here we're going to do the same thing on the sign up page. Instead of having that code, we do db include. So before I do that, let me just save it on the login and go to the browser to check whether it's working. So let me just refresh. Okay, so after refreshing, I can see that database connected is still there. So it means that it's working, the include is working. Now we have two ways of including your page. So when you include, we're going to learn this on a later topic, but when you use include, simply PHP copies the code that is on that particular page and pastes it at this particular point. So that's what include does. Now, another function that is almost similar to include is called the require function. So let me just also save it, the require function, and then I refresh. Okay, so this one also worked. So require also works. So the main difference between require and include is this. With include, if it finds the page, whether it finds the page or not, the other code will be executed. But with require, if it doesn't find the page, the other code after that line number 3, they're not going to be executed. So for example, if I do require, then I change this name to double T. We don't have that page. So if I save this and I click on refresh here, you see, so the other lines cannot be executed. Failed to open stream, no such file or directory. So that is require. Otherwise, if this was include, refresh, yes, it will give the error, but the other code is going to be executed. So that's the main difference between require and include. So because this page hugely relies on the database, let's use require and rename it to the correct name. So here, let's just say require the database correction page. Okay, so we're gonna copy this and also paste it here on the sign up. So remember to save it. So we've just saved it and also saved there. Okay, so now let's get into the business of the day. We are done with setting up the connection page. Now we want to retrieve data from the database. We can actually check here. Can come to localhost. Then we can type PHP admin. Localhost / PHP admin. We can delete their stuff. Enter. So if you can remember, last time we created, just go, or did we set a password? Okay. Last time we created a database called voting. And in that database, we created a table called user. And we used the registration page to be able to achieve this. You remember they were setting up a password. So we're just going to enter an email address and the password for them to be able to log in. So we're going to retrieve this data. I was able to add we were able to add 3 people last time. So let's see how to do it right now. Let me just refresh this. Okay, let me also remove this database connected. Okay, let's just remove this else, or you can just comment it out. Sometimes you just want to leave it for testing. Save. Okay, so if I refresh, okay, so that's good enough. Okay, so how do you retrieve user details? Okay, no, before retrieving, we need to pick user details from the form. Okay, so for that, of course, we need to use the post. If is set post, so let's do that. And then we also copy this. Let me just copy from here to here. Okay, paste it. Let me close that. Let me close that. So we're just saying if is set, the name of our form button is login. ID is login. Okay, so if is set login, that is if the login button has been clicked, then do something. Create some variables to hold the data. So we want 2 variables. Those variables are email address and the password. So we just want that. Then after that, we want to pick up the data from the form. So we want to pick the email and we want to pick the password. So the name for the email text box is email, I think, and this one is password. So let's just confirm that. we can confirm that by scrolling down to our form. So here we have email. The name is email. It's here. And the name for the password is password. Password. I think we're good. We will be able to pick that. At this point, it's always good to continue testing your code. So you can just test it. Let me just copy this echo, copy, paste. So we can test it by printing the two variables. So email and password. We just want to test whether we are able to get it. So let me just save it. And then I come to my browser, refresh. Oh, we have an error. Expecting a closing colon on line 23. So let's go to line number 23. 23 is actually here. Okay, of course there's a problem. I found it, this one. So let me just put that there. So I forgot to close that. So you can see the other areas were grayed out because of that. So you can always know where the problem is beginning from. So the error message may not be accurate in terms of the number, the number, because it's still me number 23, but the problem is not here really. But other signs like the graying out can tell you where the problem is. So I just forgot to put that. So I can just put that. It's a good habit to just close the paragraph. So let me just close it. Okay, so let me save this. Now it should work. Click there on the address bar and refresh. Let me put some email here. Teacher Caris. I enter some password 1234. Click login. I expected it to write it here. Oh, it's not. Let me try that again. Login. Okay. I know why. I know why. Let me see on our form. This is the closing form. This is the opening. Action and method. So we need to enter method post. Method post. So I think that's why it was not working, because we forgot to enter method post. Action hashtag means the PHP that is supposed to process this data is on this page, but on the sign up form we used let me see, I think we used something else. Let me see here. Form action. We still use the hashtag. Okay, so I think that was the problem. I didn't do method post. It's a good one there. At least I've been able to find it. Let me refresh. Okay. Let me enter the address now and some password. Login. Okay. So you can see up here that we have my email and the password Okay, so the next thing we need to do after that is to just like we did on the sign up, we always need to sanitize data before we check on the database. We need to sanitize the data, that is to clean it using the HTML special chars function. So we just want to say that email is equals to email, like that. So you must do that. I'll do Control D to duplicate this line, then I'll change this to password. So we are just sanitizing, sorry, password, to make sure that a hacker is not entering some script. So that function is used to do exactly that. Then the next thing we need to do is to encrypt the password. Remember, we saved the password in encrypted form. We saved the password in encrypted form. Here, for the last one, we encrypted it. For the other ones, we didn't encrypt, but I'll show you a way around it. So the login might not work. But the last person here, we encrypted the password. I can't even remember the password we entered there. So I'm not sure whether, unless you guys remind me. Please try and remember that password before you get there. But we can come to the sign up page, and just go to the password to find the function we use to encrypt. Because now we need to encrypt this password before. We need to encrypt this password before we, okay. So here is the encrypted password. Yeah. So you can just copy it. Copy. So we use the crypt. We use the crypt function. So if I do that, then I'll end up getting the same password. So yes, I've picked the plain text password, but I have to encrypt it before I check on the database. So if I save this and I come here to my system, if I refresh this, yeah, resubmit, you see now the password is encrypted. It's not the 1, 2, 3 that I had typed. If I type some that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, password, login, you can see that the password is encrypted. So we need to encrypt it before we check on the database. Okay. So now let's move on. I think we are done with that. We can just comment it out, the echo there. Now, the most important thing now is to retrieve the data. Now we can try and retrieve the data from the database. So here we have several steps. Step 1 is write down the SQL statement to do that, to retrieve the data. So write down the SQL statement, and this statement normally is stored. This statement normally is stored in a variable. So we can just create a variable. Right? We just call it SQL, just like that, SQL. Then you enter some double quotes. Then you can type the statement. So the statement, SQL statement that is used to retrieve data is called select, the select statement. Select star from our table. The table name is user. So we want to retrieve from user. Then we want where email. So star here means retrieve everything, retrieve every field: first name, surname, email, phone number, password, created, everything. So that is what star means. Otherwise here we can just say select, for example, email, comma, password. So we can just do that, but we don't want to do that. We want to retrieve everything. Select star. The reason as to why I'm writing this in uppercase is because that is the convention in SQL. In SQL, you write the keywords in uppercase, then the user-defined words in lowercase. So select star from user, where email, So email, let me see how we named that. Can't remember. How did we name this field? We named it email address. So it has to be email address. Email, sorry, address. Hope that is how we name it. Yes, you can see email address. So where email address is equal to, we put a single quote, then we put the email this user has entered. So it has been stored in the variable email like that. Then of course, that is the end. That is the end of it. So we're just saying select star from user where email address is equal to. Equal to in MySQL is not the same as in programming. In programming, most of the time we write 2 equals to mean equal to, but in SQL, we just type 1. So that's step number 1. Then we can go now to step number 2. In step number 2, we now need to execute. We need to execute the SQL statement. SQL statement using the MySQL query. MySQLi underscore query function, something like that. Okay, so how we do that is we create a variable to hold whatever is going to be returned. We can call this variable, for example, results. Then we want to run this function. It's called MySQLi query. Like that. Then we pass it the statement. So other than the statement, first we pass it the connection. The connection, let me just a moment. Why am I able to? Hey, this has entered full screen and I'm unable to move away. I'm unable to see any other screen. What did I press now? F10, F11, F12. Oh, F12 what? Okay. So, what was I saying? Oh, okay. We call this variable db connect. db connect. This one for connection. So MySQLi query takes the first parameter it takes is the database connection. So the database connection is saved in a variable called db connect. Underscore db connect, like that. So then space, then the statement, the SQL statement. We've saved it in a variable called SQL, like that. So that's step number. That is step number 2. And lastly, we have step number 3. Step 3, we need to fetch the results. So normally we fetch the results. We fetch the results using a function called MySQLi fetch a sock. So we can call this user. So because we are retrieving the user information. So user, then MySQLi underscore fetch array, that one. Instead of fetch array, we can use fetch a sock, that one. I'm used to using fetch array, by the way. Then here, we're gonna enter the variable results. So this one here is what we enter there. So when we do that, then it's going to pick up the details of the person whose email is that. It's gonna pick it up. Then it picks that up in what we call an array. What we call an array. Yes, we actually learned about arrays, if I can remember correctly. We actually learned about arrays, but generally, let me see if I can print an array here. Let me see. There is a function called printf. Reason. Let's print user. User. Let me save this and see if we are going to print the contents of this variable as an array. I was trying to think of how I can make it color white, because most likely it's going to be color black, but I can highlight it so that you see it. So I've just saved my work. We want to print this. So let me begin by refreshing. I refresh my page. I hope I have no error. Yes, no error. Okay, then I can just pick that. Because there's that email, I can enter any password for now. Log in. Good. Okay, so see here. So I've just highlighted so that you can see it. You can see that we have an array. When I print user, we have an array. It's an associative array. Associative arrays, they don't use the indices 0, 1, 2, 3. They use names for the index. For example, the first one here, that one's too fast. Okay, the first array item here is named first name, and the content is Kelvin. The second array is named other names, and the content is Kariuki. The other array item is contact, and the contact is that. The next one is email address, and the email address is there. Then we have password, and that is the password. Then we have created. Then this is the content of created. So this is an associative array. So you can see that this is an array. So that is what I wanted to insist. So what we do here is we really don't want to print that array. What we want to do is to retrieve the password. We want to retrieve the password. Let me see. So the password is called password, like that. So to do that, we can create a variable, for example, password from DB. Then we say is equals to user, like that. And because it's an array, we enter the name of that position. So the name of that position is password. We've just seen it here. So the name is password. So we want, for this user, the password, we want it to be saved on this variable. So here we can say save the password from the database to a variable. Something. Remember, some of these comments, I'm just writing them because you're learning, but some of them are not meaningful for the maintenance of the system. Okay, so we've just saved the password. The next thing we need to do is, for example, to use an if statement. So we can use an if statement. If else. Okay. So if we want to match the password that the user has entered, So if password is equal to pass from the DB. So if they're equal, we want to echo. Let me just copy this. We want to echo login successful. Login successful. Otherwise, we want to echo, maybe this can be red or something. We want to echo login failed. Login failed. Please try again. Something like that. So if they are equal, this is the password that the user entered. This is the password that we have retrieved. We have retrieved from the database. So if they're equal, successful. If they are not equal, we just tell them that. Okay, so let's try this. Let me just refresh my page. Then I can enter the email address and some password. Login. Of course, I expected it to fail. Login failed. I can't remember. Has anyone remembered the password we used for John Doe? Did you use pass123 or something? Can anyone remember? Yeah? Can anyone remember the password we used? Okay, we can just create another password. What I'll do, I'll just enter some password and then I'll copy it and paste it in the password. Let me just print the password here. Password. We've already encrypted. Then I'll enter, for example, 1234, and then I'll copy whatever is brought up here. So let me just save it. Let me refresh this. Let me enter. Then I just enter 1234. Login. Okay, so I'll just copy this encrypted password and paste it for this guy. So to edit some value in your database table, you can just, the quickest way, you can just double click. If you double click, it opens up and I can paste. Oh, sorry, Control V. Right? Control V. This, why is it behaving like this? Okay, I think it's okay. Good. So that's one way. I've just edited the password for this guy, Kelvin Kariuki. So right now, if I log in with the email Chakari, enter the password 1234, the login should be successful. Good. Login successful. Login successful. If I try with the wrong password, login. Hi. Did I? Oh. How come? It was supposed to be successful. Just enter the wrong password. Supposed to fail. What is happening? Okay, let me check that code again. Password. Pass from. Let me see. Login failed. Please try again. Think. Just a moment. Let me refresh again. Let me enter some wrong password. Login. Right. What is this? Okay, so we're running into some problems. that is how things happen in programming. So let me try and print the print R. I just want to print the user variable. User, which is an array. Okay, save it. I just want to troubleshoot and find out why the login is being successful when it's not supposed to be. Enter some wrong password, login successful. Let me see. Oh, okay. It's like, oh, I also needed to print the password. Sorry, just a moment. For it to, I just want to compare the database password and the user password. So the user password, we've saved it and encrypted it on that variable. And then the other one is the password from the database. But we don't need to do that. We can just print the password from the database. So I can print maybe pipe, then pass from the database. Just want to compare if they're the same. Save it. Come here. Refresh. Okay. Password, random password, login. Okay. So it seems there's a problem with our encryption. It seems that function is encrypting everything to the same thing. Actually, you can realize that from here. This is what we changed to, and this is what had been saved earlier for John Doe. It's simply encrypting everything to the same thing. I don't know. I might have made a mistake. Let me see on the sign up. We must have used this wrongly. Maybe what is being encrypted is vote underscore 22. We must have made a mistake somewhere. PHP. PHP create function. We used it wrongly. Let's just read again. Returns a hash string. What are they? The string that you want, the salt, and what it becomes. So required the string to be hashed. The string to be hashed. Then a salt string to base the hashing. This one is optional. But it was just supposed to work. Okay, I think we can just remove. We just remain with a string without having the salt, because the salt is optional. So we just have the password only. So maybe we can just try that. So let me just remove this so that we just give it a string. Let me see. How did they use it here? Putting it on. Okay. Did they put a variable? Just a moment. Let me see. We have anything from. Excuse me. have anything from what do we call that site? I can't see that site. Let me just check even. This is the official PHP website, php.net. String, some string. And the salt. Okay. Some example. My password. Crypt my password. What if it's a variable? Do you put it? No, you don't put the quotes. Okay, so I think the mistake we might be doing is, yes, we put this variable, but we put it inside single quotes. So let's just remove it, because on the sign up page, so here on the sign up, we remove this. We've also removed the salt. So let's just remove that so that we just have the variable, just the variable. So save that. Then here on the login, let's see, where do we have the here? Good. We remove the salt, vote underscore 2022. Remember, I'm using this for the first time, so of course I'm glad that I'm running into problems so that I can learn more about it. So okay, so I think now we are good. I'll just save this, then I copy the encrypted password to the database. I hope it's going to give us different values. Now let me just close this. I think we are done here. Okay, so let me refresh. Okay, and then I enter my email. I enter password 1234. Oh, no salt parameter was specified. You must use a randomly generated salt. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's then use some salt. We had vote 2022. Okay, save. Just included some salt on line 21. Yeah, it's there. Okay, let's try it again. Refresh. Password 1234. Okay. So login failed. Please try again. I expected that. So this is what it has brought. This one. So we can just copy this and paste it here. Paste it there. Good. So let me log in again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Login should be successful. Good. Successful. So we can just delete. That. So I think now it's working. So also here on the sign up, let's just get back the salt. Remember, the salt should be the same on both ends. So let me just copy, sign up, paste. Good. So now we are good to go. Save it. Save it. Okay. So we need to remove. These. Okay. And we also need to remove this. We were just printing it for testing. So now we are good. Login failed. Login successful. Okay. So save it. Oh, but I removed it. But we need it to. We needed to set up some password for the other users because we forgot. Or we can just put the same password for all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So instead of setting different passwords, I'll just copy this password. Copy, come here, paste, come here, paste, just like that. So all of them have the same password, 1234. So if I log in with John, copy, paste, 1234, then you have login successful. We log in with John, some other password, login failed. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is how we create the login page. I want us to proceed to a break. Then when we come back, we can look at how to do PHP redirect. So I want us to have a 15 minutes break so that at least we stretch a little bit and then we come back and continue. Asanteni sana. Okay, so let's move on. So before we learn about PHP Redirect and PHP Session, I also saw something during the break that I might have forgotten to include. It's a function called MySQLi real escape string. Let's learn something about this one. It's a good one. So it's a function that escapes special characters in a string for use in an SQL query, taking into account the current character set for the connection. This function is used to create a legal SQL string that can be used in an SQL statement. Generally, we use this particular statement to make sure that whatever data the user has entered does not have SQL commands. So when we are taking the first name from the form, we will do MySQLi underscore real escape string as we pick the name from there to make sure that we escape any special characters so that a hacker cannot be able to hack our database. So I forgot to do that, and I think it's important. So almost achieves the same thing as the HTML special chars, only that the HTML special chars really avoids HTML and JavaScript. But this one will also ensure that we do not have any MySQL commands in this particular data that we are picking from the user. So it's also a security. It's also a security function. So make sure you also use it. So we were supposed to use it there. It doesn't really change anything. But if we had some SQL statement, then it will be able to escape them, or commands. Change this to password. Change this to password. So these are just security measures. Okay. The other thing, I think that is it about that. So now, please read more about this when you get time, and you can practice about it here on W3 Schools. Okay, so what's next? Oh, the other thing we needed to do, you see right now our site is printing the message here, which is not so good. We just want to print this message just above, for example, the login button. So we don't want it here, we want it here. So we can just do that. So we can create variables to hold that. So we can login success or login error. So this is just a variable, login underscore error. Okay. So can just set this to login success, login. Oh, I forgot the dollar sign. Keyboard. Login success is equals to that. Then here we can do login error is equals to that. Okay, so we're just assigning this paragraph to this one, just a string in PHP, and then we can come to the form just above our submit button here. Then we can do some PHP here, some PHP tag. So PHP like that. Now I want to show you a different way in which you can write an if statement. You can write in PHP, you can write an if statement like this: if condition, then full colon, then end if semicolon, like that. So this is just like if, then opening curly brackets, and then closing curly brackets. So here we're just doing that. So we want to say if is set, if is set, if is set, what do we want? If is set the variable in success, if is set like that, what do we want? We want to echo it. So why should we have this? No. Let me just drop this there, and so my end if begins. Sorry. Okay, that's too far. Okay, yeah, good. So if it is set, we want to echo that variable. Yes, like that. We can select this, then we do Control D to duplicate it, enter a in error. So if the login error is set, we want it to print the error echo. I think that should work. If we save that, we come here, click here. We have on line 9 syntax error, unexpected closing. Line 9, great. Not sure it's not somewhere here. Yeah, let me show you. The other way, by the way, the other way to troubleshoot your code is by using the comments. So let me just comment everything we've added right now. So I can use a multi-line comment. Save it, refresh. Will that error still be there? Okay, so indeed I have an error in line So let me go. I was suspecting maybe the error is here. So I can just remove this, the comment. I can go to line number 9. Oh, I forgot. Is equals to. Is equals to that empty string. Okay. So save it. Come back here. Refresh. Okay. So we're good. Uh, so email, some wrong password, login. I have MySQL escape string expects exactly 2 parameters. Oh, we've only given one. Which is that? Oh, oh, it expects the connection. So we have an error on 18 and 20. We also have an error on 36. Trying to access array set on value type now. 18, 20, that is expected. What is this 36? Okay, let's solve 18 and 20. So here, you also need to give it DB connection. So DB connect. Is that the variable? I think so. Yeah, 2 DB. So the first parameter is supposed to be the database connection. I hope that variable is called that. Yes, it's called that. DB connect. DB connect. Let me save this. Let's refresh and see whether it gets rid of those 2 errors. In fact, all of them. Oh, no. Let me just enter the password again. Password, login. Good, 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 good. Okay, so now we have the feedback here. We now have the feedback here. Login failed. Please try again. Please try again. If the login is successful, enter the correct password. Login. It didn't say successful. Why? Because of the color, I think. We have the color. Can do green, green, green. So style, color, green. So save that. Fresh. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Login successful. Okay. So normally, on many systems, after you've logged in, yes, it will give you this message. Then after that, it will redirect you to your landing page, and that is where we now learn about PHP Redirect. PHP Redirect. So to do that, we use what we call the PHP header function. PHP header function, W3 schools. It sends a raw HTTP header to a client. So it actually header function, header content type. Okay. I'm trying to think if we have another way of doing it. Because we have more than one PHP redirect, PHP to the page. Stack Overflow. You'll see a number of ways here. Okay. Okay. I think this is the kind of example I wanted. Okay, so just want to do header and then location, and then the address where you want to take this particular person. So that is how we use it. That is how we use it. Header location. I wasn't seeing that the location bit on the W3 school site. Okay, so here I'm not sure whether it's going to work. Here, if the password matches, we want to relocate this person. So header, close that, and zip that. Then you enter location, then full colon, then where you want to take them. Right now, we have a page called index.html. Index.html. So we can just write that. Index.html. Okay, so let's try it. Save it. Redirect user to their home page, or you can call that dashboard. Okay, save. Then we can refresh this. We can enter some email, some password, 1, 2, 3, 4, log in. You see, we didn't even see the message. The redirect was so fast. The redirect was so fast, we didn't have a chance to see the login successful. We actually have a function, it's called a sleep function. PHP sleep function. I'm sure it's still there. W3 schools is to delay the execution of the next line of code. Delays the execution of the current script for a specified number of seconds. Sleep, then some seconds, like that. So if we want to see the user to see the message, I'm not sure if sleep will work. Let's try and delay this, for example, for 3 seconds. See, save it. Let's refresh this. Will it show the message? 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Still doesn't show because still doesn't show. Because it will sleep at this point, and therefore it's not gonna execute even this PHP that is down here. This one, it's not going to execute it. It's just going to redirect before the user sees the message. Anyway, you can play around with that and see how you can be able to see that particular information. Anyway, at this point, because it's redirecting us to index, I've remembered something else we need to mention. I have forgotten. It's here. Okay. PHP Session. I had not included this earlier, but you see the user details that we get during login. Some of these details we need to use them in other pages. So in order to be able to use them in other pages, we need to store them in what we call a session. So I think we will also learn about the session. We'll learn about the session in some later topics, but we can just use it here so that you see how it's done. So a session is a way to store information in variables to be used across multiple pages. So we want to save the first name, for example, so that when they log in, we tell them, hi, Kelvin, hi, Mary, hi, John, and things like those. So unlike a cookie, the information is not stored on the user computer. So normally during login, we create a session. We create a session. To create a session, on the very top of your PHP or your HTML page, you must call the function session start. So just copy this. I'll copy that and then go to the top of our page here before any other code and paste session start function. So you cannot store a session until you do this, until you call the session start. Then to store some session, you use the session global variable. Then you give the session some name, then you give it some value. So this is the name, like favorite color, then some value green. So when you print echo this, it's gonna print green. Echo this, it's gonna print cut. So that is how we use sessions. I'm just trying to see whether there's anything else I can get from here. After using sessions, it's a good habit to destroy the session. So you destroy the session to remove all the global session variables and destroy the session. Simply in order to release the memory of the computer, you destroy. So session destroy. But we're not gonna do that today. Okay, so let's see what we can save here. I'm trying to think what we need to save. Okay, so here, if the password has matched, then we want to save some user information info on a session. Okay, so how to do that? We use the session underscore $ underscore session is equals to some value. So we want to call this first session. We want to just call it first name. First name, something like that. Then we want to take it from the user. We want to take it from the user. Remember the user what? The user array. So user first, I hope it's called like that in our database. We have, yeah, it's called first name. Then we have other names. Okay, so we have that. We can do Control D. Then we have another one called other. This name here can be any name, but this one here, because it's what we're getting from the table, it has to match the name in the table. Other names. So sorry, I'm not touching the right buttons. Other names like that. What else can we say? Email address, contact. Okay, we can save the rest of the information some other time, but for now we can just save those two. We can just save the first name and the other names on a session, so that when we redirect to this page, then we are able to print their first name. Okay, so we want to change this index.html to index.php. So let me just save my work here. Where is the folder voting system here? Okay, so I want to delete this .html index. Listen, index this login HTML. I want to delete it because I no longer need it. Then I need to resave this as .php. So edit with Notepad++ like we did the other time. File, save as index, then save as type. We save it as a PHP hypertext preprocessor. So save, then we can delete the original .html because we no longer need it. Okay, so here, uh, here, the first thing we need to do, let's just test. Does it work? Does it take us there? So let me just go back and let me refresh. Then I enter some email address, password 1234, login. Good. It brings us to .php. So we just want to replace this name with the name of the person who's logged in. Something like that. Or even this one, Avanda or something. Or this one here. So the first thing we need to do here excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, so the first thing we want to do on the index.php is to just include the database and to start the session. So copy, then we come here before any other line number 1, we start the session and we include the database. Okay, I didn't copy the closing PHP tags, so I'm just going to do question mark greater than to close the PHP at that particular point. Okay, what else do I need to do? So after doing that, let me show you. I can pick, for example, the first name. Create variable to pick up session variables. Just a repetition, by the way, because you can just print the variable name directly from the session. But I don't want to do that. I want to create a variable to pick up the name from the session. So the session semicolon. The session is called first name. The first name, so first name. Login. Let's see what did we call it. We called it first name. First name. Okay. So remove the S. So just have first name. We can duplicate this so that we have other names. I hope we call it other names. Just like that. Okay. So once we've done that, now even before I change any other thing, I'll just change the other things like changing the title and other things. I don't know how that is done. But you can see that the name here, Lakian does, I think so. Lakian does, this one. We can see that we just found it just here on the sidebar, left sidebar. The sidebar, left sidebar. So we have Lakian does. So here we can remove that and we can do a PHP tag here. PHP, and we can say echo first name, like that. Then we can copy this, we can paste it here, then other names, something like that. So when you do that, if we save this now, if we save that and we refresh this, it should give us the name of the person who has logged in. The name of the person who has logged in. So I hope you have understood how we have been able to do this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know we've been on for about 2.5 hours. I beg to stop at this particular point. I hope you've learned quite a lot. Next time we can begin from editing the user details. Next time you'll also find that I'll have deleted some of these divs. There's divs, so that we can have an empty space here on the content where we can be able to play with a number of things. I'll also try and change some of the things that we have on the side menu here. So please make sure that you also get time to play around with everything we've done today. The only way you can learn programming is by building something. And that's why I'm teaching you like this, so that you can build together with me. So practice, 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 run into mistakes, search for solutions online, and you'll be able to become a pro very soon. Otherwise, thank you very much. Let's meet again tomorrow, same time, so that we can be able to pick it up from here. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye for now.